In the last video, you learned how to calculate area and perimeter of two-dimensional shapes, like squares and rectangles, a triangle and parallelogram. And in a triangle, let's draw a triangle here. We calculate the area by saying it is the base, which is here, multiplied by the perpendicular height, which is this length up here. Okay. So this formula becomes half the base multiplied by the perpendicular height. And also for a parallelogram, which would look a bit more like a shifted rectangle, looks something like that. We will calculate the area by multiplying the base over here by its perpendicular height, which would be taken anywhere along a line that would be perpendicular to the base. So here, for example. Okay, in that case, the formula will become base multiplied by height only. We may also meet two-dimensional shapes made up of a number of different shapes. These are referred to as compound shapes. So, for example, the one in the diagram is a compound shape made up of a rectangle here, connected to what we could call, well, what would that be? A square over here. Okay, so in the rectangle, let's call it shape 1, and in the square, shape 2. We can calculate the area or volume of each shape individually before adding them together to figure out the shape of the compound shape or the irregular shape. So let's look at the rectangle first of all, the rectangle. If we wanted to figure out the area of this rectangle, we would simply put it as 6 multiplied by 7, which would be 42. And if we wanted to look now at the square, we could calculate the area of the square by saying it would be 4, which is one side, multiplied by, well now, if this section of the rectangle has a value of 6, then this section must have a value of 4, because together they make up a length of 10. So going back to the square, we have side 4, and the other side must be 4 because it's a square. Both sides are the same. Oops. So we'll say it's 4 times 4, which is 16. Therefore, the entire size of this compound shape is going to be 42, which is the area of the rectangle, plus 16, which is the area of the square, which comes to 58. 58 square units is the area of that compound shape. In this second example of compound shapes, which we can see here, it's probably going to be easier to fill in the part of the shape that is missing. So if we were to make the shape a complete rectangle, so let's pretend we add on a section here. We know that the total length of this side is 7, which means the total length of this side would also be 7. And the total length of the top side is 10, meaning the total length of the bottom side would also be 10. So we could find the total area to begin with. So let's put that over here, total area. We would say that that becomes 10, oopsie daisy. That could be calculated by saying 10 multiplied by 7, which would give us 70 square units. And then separately, we can calculate the area of the shaded part. Area of shaded part, which is the part we've added on. So let's just shade that for completeness, this section here. Now before we can find the area of that shaded section, we've got to figure out the dimensions, and actually we have the dimensions. It's a side of 3 and 4, so it's a 4 by 3 shape. So we'll find the area by saying it's 4 multiplied by 3, which is equal to 12 square units. And to calculate the area of the shape that we were given, so area of total shape, area of, let's say, area of compound shape, we would do that by taking the 70 that we calculated for the rectangle, this figure over here, 70, which is the total area, and subtract this small section that we decided to add on that wasn't originally part of the shape. And if we do that, we'd figure out that the area of the original shape is 58 units squared. Now, we haven't been given the units, it's probably centimetres or metres, but for the time being we can just say units squared.